This is a real quick impromptu hangout because once again, I see people going, Jesus never existed. The Piso family invented him. How ignorant can people be? Here is a resource you can find at my website. And it is a link from there to a site called tectonics.org on the Roman Piso theory. All right. And you can find, if you don't want a Christian source, you can go to Wikipedia, which is against Christian and conservative values, and find that, yes, Jesus existed. Even they admit it. But just going to go through this article real quick. This guy says, I used to pick up copies of The Humanist for entertainment. I recall seeing a small advertisement along the back matter ads that claimed to provide undeniable, irrefutable proof that Josephus had authored the New Testament. The offerer was the Abelard Reuchlin Foundation or something like that. They're still around. It would be an overstatement to say that no one takes this group seriously, whose overall thesis is that the New Testament was authored by members of an aristocratic Roman family to keep slaves under control and submissive. In fact, he says, I could only find one writer who was even bothered to address their claims in any detail, and that, ironically enough, was a racist Christ myther, Revelo P. Oliver. All Oliver did was address a couple of technical claims they made. Apparently, their thesis ignores that the Romans used very few of what we would call first names. As for the rest, he didn't consider it worth his time. What few other challenges to these ideas I have found have been to merely describe the theory in one word or less as nonsense. I also found a message board with a message from a member of the classics department at Calvin College, which said that he had not looked at the Piso site on angelfire.com, but did say, quote, I often use angelfire.com sites to illustrate to my students the danger and indeed the absurdity of using websites indiscriminately when they write their term papers. Some of the pages there are real doozies. And another classics scholar from Penn State University. There's been a lively run of this on the Sci.Classics news group. The short form of this is that the Piso family is responsible for all secular and sacred Greco-Roman Christian history, all part of a vast goof performed by them on unsuspecting modern scholars. It reads like a huge collaborative parody of Leo Strauss, composed by Borges, Nabokov, and Eco, all under the influence of something they got from Hunter Thompson. In other words, it's a thrown together piece of trash, this Piso theory. That's about, the guy goes on to say, that's about as seriously as the scholars seem to take it. Skeptics of a more rational bent may also find this analysis by a skeptic interesting. Their summary, quote, this is one of the most obviously laughable theories I have seen on the web. Well, that's enough generally. Shall we then back that up with particulars? Here are the thematic statements from one favoring site. Quote, we Jews and church leaders have known since the beginning of Christianity that it was synthesized by the Roman Piso family for the purpose of maintaining control over the masses and to placate slaves. And this is why we Jews are the chosen people. Remember, this is not he's not recommending this source, but just saying for the sake of different opinions of theories, and says why we have endured so much for many years. We're witnesses to the lie. The New Testament, the church, and Christianity were all the creation of the Calpurnius Piso, pronounced Piso, long E family, who were Roman aristocrats. The New Testament and all the characters in it, Jesus, all the Josephs, Mary's disciples, apostles, Paul, John the Baptist, are all fictional according to this Jewish source. And, you know, people who hate Jews are, of all of the people who would not make up a Jesus, this would be them. Anyway, they go on to quote these people as saying, Judaism's ethics and morality were incompatible with the hallowed Roman institution of slavery on which the aristocracy fed, lived, and ruled. They feared that Judaism would become the chief religion of the empire. Repeatedly, religious-minded Judean zealots were staging insurrections against the Herodian rulers of Judea, who were Piso's wives' relations. Piso wished to strengthen his wife's family control of the Judeans. The Pisos searched for a solution to the two problems. They found it in the Jewish holy books, which were the foundation both for the rapid spread of the religion and for the zealots' refusal to be governed by Rome's puppets. The Pisos mocked but marveled at the Jewish belief in their holy books. Therefore, they felt a new Jewish book would be the ideal method to pacify the Judeans and strengthen their in-laws' control of the country. That's the theory. And that's the end of that quote. And then he goes on to say, that's actually enough for most people to dismiss these theories out of hand, but for completeness, We'd like to put together a miscellany of claims from this group and check them out. The following claims are derived from various websites supporting this theory. Let's start with a foundational claim from these folks. Quote, the member of the Piso family who started it all was Arrius Calpurnius Piso. He was the Roman general who captured the city of Jerusalem for Rome in 66 CE, Common Era, and who, collaborating with Titus, a relative, destroyed the temple there in 70 CE. In fact, both Zela, a religious center of Pontus, and Jerusalem were the sites of temples that were destroyed. Julius Caesar destroyed the one in Zela in 47 BCE. From here, it is noted that Arius is none other than Flavius Josephus himself. And it goes from there. But let's pause for a moment, shall we? It seems rather curious that a net search of the name Arrius Calpurnius Piso turns up nothing but websites that promote or support this theory. The name turns up nowhere on any site dedicated to Roman history, Latin studies, or anywhere having to do with serious scholarship. This is fairly telling, same thing, fairly telling, because the existence of this fellow seems to be a root for many facets of the theory. In other words, this guy didn't exist. It's this Josephus, or no, I'm sorry, not Josephus, but Piso who didn't exist. Jesus existed, but not this Piso person. That's what they're saying here. From here, it is noted, as I said, none other than Flavius Josephus himself, and it goes from there, but let's pause for a moment, shall we? It seems rather curious that a net search of the name turns up nothing. As I read, the name turns up nowhere on any scholarly sites. Revelation 1:8 says, I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, says the Lord, which was, is and is to come, the Almighty. The name Arrius Calpurnius Piso begins with Alpha and ends with Omega. Could this be another way of Jesus, the Lord, saying, I am Arrius Piso? That's how bad this quote-unquote logic is. A general rule is that you can substitute Arrius Piso wherever the Lord is referred to in the New Testament. How insane is that? I just can't believe people still pass this around, but they're doing it right now in another live hangout. Revelation 13:8 says, here is wisdom, understanding, the number of the name of the beast. And they say the man is both Jesus Christ and Arrius Piso. Here's why. The number expresses Greek characters, blah, 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 blah. Is it an example? Is it an accident that the initials JC stand for Jesus Christ and Julius Caesar? Wow. Talk about connecting dots that aren't there. Is it an accident that the name given to Jerusalem by Arrius Piso in 66 CE was a Jupiter Capitolinum? Another JC? Ooh, conspiracy. It must be true, right? Because you can connect dot A with dot Q and not care what the letters of the alphabet are. Another promoting site says that this Vitellius took control over the empire as emperor, was killed soon afterwards by this Piso guy. Really not according to Suetonius, who in the 12 Caesars records that Vitellius was killed by a group of soldiers who performed various atrocities on him before throwing his body into the Tiber. No Arrius makes as much as a bow. In other words, he's conspicuous by his absence. This Arrius is also said to have they got that twice, headed Roman forces along with Titus, laid siege upon the temple in Jerusalem in the year 70 CE. Yet Josephus makes no mention of such an Arrius, though we'd guess that's because he was Arrius and was trying to hide it. They're trying to, stretch their theory here. We'd like the reader to note that there is no site or source given for this information, which is apparently typical for this consortium, the group he's been talking about. People are invented from this Piso family based on no more than a whim and perhaps a presumption of an embedded code in the New Testament and other documents. To put it simply, there is no evidence outside the theory that Arrius Piso actually existed. Again, who is it that did not exist? Arrius Piso, not Jesus Christ. Jesus existed, Piso did not. Got that? Here's another one of those types of claims. You can read that about Hadrian. I know people like to mention that when they try to parrot this made-up theory. Around the end of the reign of Hadrian, after 135 CE, Julius Copernicus Piso, the son of Arius Piso, made a big mistake. He had just conquered the Jews at Masada, after which the Jews scattered all corners of the earth. This was the infamous diaspora. It was a stunning, if brutal, victory, and Julius wanted to make the most of it. He asked Hadrian to make his son successor to the emperor, knowing full well that if Hadrian refused, Julius would be obliged to commit suicide, and Hadrian refused. There's quite the confusion here, since Masada was a last stand for the Jews in 73 AD, not in the time of Hadrian, and the diaspora refers to Jews scattered among the nations even long before 70 AD. Not that it matters, because this Julius seems to be another invention of the theory. There was indeed a Julius Piso who was mentioned in a letter of Pliny, but he had nothing to do with the Jewish war. The Roman commander at Masada was named Silva. Josephus War 7.8. We are told that this Julius also wrote the book of Revelation. Like Arius, though, he is a phantom. Another part of this package, numerology. And then they go into all that ridiculous Roman numeral crap about trying to, make this work, connect these dots. The article goes on to say, in case you're wondering how this was arranged, it seems to be part of the plan that the Pisos also orchestrated our system of reckoning years and numbering them BC and AD. In other words, this person had to have also invented the terms BC and AD, BC being before Christ, AD Anno Domini, which in Latin, the year of our Lord. And they use Common Era to try to obfuscate that, but it doesn't work, because you still got to wonder what happened at that year that made it the Common Era. And of course, it's always centered Western calendar around the birth, life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. There's no escaping it. Anyway, another quote here about the 15th day in the third month. Veni Vici of, I came, I saw, I conquered. I think that's the one. Apparently, any number is fair game here, and any way it can be associated is fair game as well. Julius Caesar is a real important person for this thesis. Here's another example, noting his famous phrase, and they try to connect that with 666. That's the answer when the data doesn't cooperate. It was actually a very clever way of hiding things from people not in on the joke. In other words, people who are passing around this Piso theory have fallen for an ancient joke. Not as ancient as you might think, but still. Arranging all the pieces, people are trying to, desperately to make this work. But he says in this article, wouldn't 3 V's make 2 triangles plus 1 line without the eyes? This makes 3 total, elsewhere it said. And then, he's just ripping apart the Piso theory. And he goes on to, quoting, let's see, was that the Psalms? Yeah, they pierced him. That's in both Testament, actually, but it's in Revelation also. But this theory tries to connect pierced and conquered. There's no way to do it. And it didn't take 3 years to pierce him. More undocumented creativity follows. And they quote again, when a Roman needed to attend to nature, he or she would say something like, time to turn water into wine. This was a joke, of course, for the act of urination was something like transforming water magically into a kind of wine. Knowing this, you can never think that Jesus turning water into wine at the wedding at Capernaum was a miracle. In other words, you see where this theory goes? It's extremely vulgar. They go on in the article, you won't find any documentation of such a phrase used by Romans. In other words, they made up this catchphrase, the Piso theory promoters. But we wonder whether the priest of Dionysus would have caught on. And then they quote another thing that says, in Latin, the word pistor or baker was like the word epos, used by the Piso family to refer to themselves. Could it be that when we read in the Lord's Prayer, give us this day our daily bread, we're actually reading a request for more bread from the Piso family bakery that made up Jesus' story? This is how absurd and stupid so-called conspiracy theorists can be when they're desperate to write Jesus out of history and put in some much more obviously fictional character in his place. So, this article goes on and on and on about just picking apart this Piso theory. And I will try to put this in the watch page if I can even find my watch page, because I don't know where I put it. There it is. It's one of these browsers. Here you go. I didn't even know anybody was here. So sorry, I haven't been paying any attention to chat. Take a guess which, other 24, there's a 24/7 live hangout that runs that they're again doing the Jesus never existed. It was invented by the Piso family by people I say hi to all the time in other chats. And I'm just about to the point where I'm like, should I even try to be nice to these people anymore? Because this is what they do when they think I'm not looking. They act like they're my friends, but then they go around saying ridiculous, made up nonsense like this, and that Jesus didn't exist, and that, there's tons more evidence for Jesus existing than for this Piso theory. And these people I talk to and am cordial to and try to be nice to because I like to be nice to people, and then I find out what they're doing behind my back. It's like, you know what? I think I'll just, look for more work or something because YouTube is a cesspool. And again, I see, the so-called Christian channels that people flock to, they're teaching all kinds of ridiculous crap also, while saying they're Christians. They allegorize. The other day I heard two people talking, one a Mormon and the other an allegorist, saying, oh yeah, we just bend the Bible to whatever we think is the latest fact of the day, and then we never have a problem. Well, what good is that? Why bother with the Bible at all? I mean, how can you be a Christian if you don't even care what the Bible says? Because if you allegorize it or make it bend to everything else as if it's the lowest scum and must bow to every other philosophy, then why do you believe Jesus rose from the dead? And don't tell me you had a feeling. That's what Mormons do. Even Mormons who say they kind of flipped around to different religions for a while and settled on Mormonism. I'm like, wow, that's frying pan to the fire. But anyway, this article that I think I posted in the chat there. Yes, I did. Juan, yeah, I saw you over there saying Jesus never existed. You are either lying or ignorant, Juan Carlos. I just blasted your stupid theory out of the water. You are spreading religion, Juan Carlos. You are. This is a religious, made-up, fictional nonsense about the Piso family. I just showed you an article that ripped it apart. Okay, that's what's fictional. Jesus is not fictional. You understand what I'm saying? I'm so tired of the so-called truther community passing around disinfo, either out of ignorance or stupidity or hate. And you can get off my channel, Juan. And I'm seriously going to stop hanging around with any flat earth channels because of the kind of people they are. I've just had it. This is lies. These people I've been cordial to are not friends. I say hi to them, they say hi back, and I'm just like treating people the best I can. And what do? Oh, you're a religious idiot. You're a nut job. Well, this is coming from flat earthers, mind you. Wow. I mean, anyway, just look at this article. It blows the Piso theory completely out of the water. It shows who it is that's making up religious fiction. It's not the Bible. Okay? So if you want truth, I just showed you where you can find some about this Piso family theory. And, I keep relenting. I say, man, I'm just so tired of the drama and all this stuff in the flat earth community. And I work on drawings and I try to figure stuff out and share it with people. I don't ask for money. I don't try to, undermine anybody. I just mind my own business in my own channel, and I try to get along with people. And everywhere I go, I find this absolute supernatural hatred of only the Bible. I don't see these people go around saying the Vedas are fiction or, wow, this Mount Meru is absolutely nonsense. No, they swallow that stuff. They eat it up. And if people are going to go around saying lies about things that are much better attested than the lies they're spreading and calling us what we believe religion, I can't even be nice to those people anymore. And I've been trying for 3 years. So let me post the link again. I'm just so tired of trying to be nice to people who go around everywhere spreading disinfo about the Bible and Jesus on the basis of made up nonsense that's clearly made up, that I just am showing you a website that lays out the details of how it's made up. And they don't care. They're going to just keep parroting the falsehoods and believing whatever they want, and then trying to tell us that we're the religious freaks. No, I'm just so done with the flat earth community, which won't break any of their hearts. I understand that. They're probably having a party at that other channel right now. But you know what? If you don't see me around, it's because I've just had my fill of this disinfo campaign coming from people who think they're awake. It just really burns my, I don't know what I want to say, but it's very frustrating. It's very disappointing because it's disinfo and they're just swallowing it whole. They don't eat, it's their religion. It's their religion. And they think we're the religious nuts. I don't know where they get their info. They probably don't know where they get their info. They heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody. And this, of course, must be fact because it's not the Bible. Therefore, it must be true. I can't help them. Not that they wanted any help, but I did try. Out of the goodness of my heart, I tried, but I won't try anymore. It doesn't have anything to do with earth shape. It has to do with the darkness of people's hearts and how disingenuous they are. So if you want to find religious nuts, go to that other channel where Juan Carlos came from. There you will find religious nuts. People who throw all reason and evidence to the wind and then point like a playground bully going, ha ha, you're a religious nut because you believe in Jesus and the Bible, and they don't do this to any other religion. I mean, you know, you can only try to talk to people for so long, and then you just have to quit. And if that's what they wanted, they got their wish, and I made them happy too. So, anyway, if you go to that other channel on a regular basis and you're a Christian, I got to ask why you do that. I don't see those people here too much unless they're going to complain about something like Juan did. It's like, you know, I've been nice to this guy. I thought he was all right, but apparently not. You know, they all, you know, they smile at your face, but they all mutter behind your back that you're this religious freak only because you're a Christian and only because you're a Bible literalist. I hear and see that term thrown around a lot. Oh, a Bible literalist, there's something wrong with those people. Yeah, we know that the Jesuits wrote the Bible. Oh, wait, it was the Piso family Romans. Oh, wait, it was somebody else made it up. And they don't care who, and they don't care if their stories conflict. But what pains me the most is that these people, you know, the Christians support those channels, and now Juan is over at the other channel saying that I'm dissing their whole channel. No, I'm not. I'm dissing Juan Carlos. They can come over here and hear what I've said. Okay? And I know Christians that go to that channel and hang out there and say hi to people. I'm just telling you, it's not going to end well. Not as a threat, but I'm just telling you from my experience that you will find out that those people you think are so nice to you are talking behind your back and spreading lies about you like Juan Carlos is doing right now at that other channel. Yeah, I know you can hear me. I'm watching your chat. I'm watching you spread lies over there because I did not diss the whole channel. I dissed you because I thought you were a nice guy. And I said hi to you all the time. And then I find out you're saying, oh, Jesus never existed and blah, 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 and spreading disinfo, which means you weren't sincere. So, yeah, now I'm supposed to shove the Bible. Just like that one time at that channel, if I'm going to be accused of dissing it, I might as well go ahead. The one time I heard them all giggle while somebody said that he wiped himself with the Bible. They all giggled. So, there's your religion. There's your falsehood. You believe in that Piso theory? You're the religious nut. That's all I'm saying. And that's the truth. Thanks, Erwin. I think I've had enough looking at that other religious channel. Let's see if I missed anything else of importance in the chat. Let's see. Yep. Same old stuff. And I did post that a couple of times. Yeah, Vaughn doesn't crack me up. He disgusts me, actually. Anybody who says that about the Bible disgusts me because they believe it in, they believe the counter theories without question. They are the religious nuts, calling us religious nuts and believing falsehoods while they say that we believe in falsehoods. So, yeah, I'm just saying I'm just done with the flat earth community because they're not genuine. They will say one thing to your face and something else behind your back, just like that Juan did. And we've been putting up with this, us Bible literalists, for a long time. We bent over backwards to try to get along with people, and this is what we get. So let them spread their lies. It won't matter because I won't be talking to them anymore. So anyway, if you want to hear, want to hear the other side of the story instead of just listening to the Piso theory, my channel's here, my website's here. But I'm not going to go out of my way to befriend people, especially in that community anymore. Thanks for coming. We'll see y'all later.